everyone, and welcome to the daily newspaper analysis, which is brought to you by Losico. So today we will discuss the analysis for 13th September, which is today. Basically, we wanted to take the articles for Saturday as well, but there were no significant articles in either of the newspapers. So we will be taking articles from today's newspaper itself. So today also there is only one article that we have from the Indian Express, which is titled as "It's Still Uphill." So this article talks about the GDP, the prospects of GDP that have brought a change since the COVID-19 pandemic had hit. So what are the future coming things or the prospects for the GDP for the national one have been discussed in this article. This newspaper analysis is presented by me. My name is Sheva Khan. I am a law graduate and I have completed my law degree from Untitled University in the year 2019. I've been the batch gold medalist and I have also been a national debater as well as a public speaker. At Losico here, I'm working as the manager for current affairs vertical. You can also find me on my Twitter as well as LinkedIn handles. The links to both are available in the description box below. Before moving further, let's see what is the multiple choice question from previous discussions. Which section of the Indian Penal Code defines rape? Your options are section 302, 354, 375 or none of the above. If you know the answer, you can put it down in the comment section below. Let's see what is the descriptive question for the day. How has the national GDP, which is the gross domestic product, been affected by the COVID situation? Suggest some ways to boost the economy. So let's quickly discuss the only article for the day, which talks about the India's GDP growth. So the impact of the GDP, that is the gross domestic product, due to the second wave can be measured by the compression of 9.2% when compared to the GDP of pre-COVID times. Here, before we get into the discussion, I hope you all by now understand that what do we mean by the GDP. So in simple terms, it basically means the total value of goods and services produced in an economy during a period of time. So basically, the gross domestic product, so whatever is the product, that is the value of the domestic production, of the overall production that has taken place in an economy, that would be considered as the GDP. So what has happened is that the impact on the GDP due to the second wave of the COVID-19 can be measured by the compression, the compression, the decrease of 9.2% as compared to the GDP of the pre-COVID time. So we can see that we can still, it is going down and down, but the article says that in the coming times, definitely we have good chance of boosting the economy back again to the pre-COVID times. So let's understand about the fiscal metrics of the central government and the state government, which means that how the money has been spent by the central government and the various state governments. So firstly, if we talk about the central government, the revenue expenditure rose by 7.8%, led by non-subsidy spending, which means that the money which was collected through the revenue, it was spent more by 7.8% as a lot of expenditure took place in the non-subsidy spending, which means that into a lot of things for which even though the government is not providing subsidy, even in those areas also the government had to put in more money. So there has been a rise of 47% in the direct tax collection of first quarter of the financial year 2022. The fiscal deficit also declined to 2.7 trillion from 4.3 trillion, which means there is an increase in its revenue receipts. Now, please consider that the fiscal deficit means that how much tax is actually collected by the government and how much is spent by the government. So earlier, there was a greater, lag between these two things. That was a 4.3 million, but now this has reduced to 2.7 trillion, which means 4.3 trillion to 2.7 trillion, which means that more revenue has been received by the government, which definitely is a positive side to note. And if we note about the state's government or the state expenditure, so according to the report of the Auditor General of India, of the 19 major states, substantial increase in their revenue spending has taken place, just like the center. So because there has been higher social sector spending, be it in the field of vaccinations, be it for the hospitals, oxygens, beds, etc., medicines. So definitely the spending has increased at the ends of the government as well. Also, the capital spending exceeded pre-COVID levels. Now, for example, in various kinds of infrastructure, machines, etc., that kind of spending, be it the ventilators, etc., that has also increased from the pre-COVID levels. Then the fiscal deficit, the same as above, has here doubled to 1.1 trillion from 0.6 trillion. Now, this is a trend that has been seen as opposite as compared to the center, where their fiscal deficit has declined. The situation is not the same for the states. their fiscal deficit has actually doubled from 0.6 trillion to 1.1 trillion. So the combined receipts only marginally are higher from the pre-COVID levels, which means that the tax collection at the state level has not been that great so far. So of course we can say the other reason is also that lower tax devolution is there from the center, which means I hope you all remember the entire tussle in the federal tussle which was going on regarding the compensation for the GDP, for the GST as well, and the other things also. So not good money. So no good money has been actually devolved or has been given by the center also to the states for their various kinds of expenditures. And also there has been a decline in the indirect tax, which means there has been decrease in the private consumption as well. So this article also talks about some way forward that we can have in this direction. So the GDP will have to grow by 8%, which will be on an year-on-year basis in the ongoing quarters to equalize the pre-COVID levels. And the obstacle that can be there in this direction can be continued lag in the demand for contact-intensive services. So basically, as we know that there are a lot of jobs which we cannot really do right now because we have to maintain the physical distancing. So this might be a big hindrance in increasing the GDP as well as growing the economy. Like maybe the various kinds of industrial activities, they might not be possible. Construction activities might not be possible. So these are the things that are causing problem. And the positive thing that can be that this has increased the pace of COVID-19 vaccines, and definitely once the entire nation is vaccinated, we can look forward to a healthier nation and a better economy so far. So this was all for the day. Thank you so much for staying tuned with us. Do not forget to catch the podcast discussion of this analysis. You can find it on Spotify, Google, Apple, as well as Anchor. And also, if you wish to download the PDF of today's slides, you can be a participant on our Telegram channel. The link is there in the description box below, or you can simply scan the QR code that you can see on your screens. Also, amongst our other various Instagram channels for Judiciary, CLAT Prep, Law Seekho, we are very much delighted to bring on a new edition that is for Law Seekho Finance. So if in case you are preparing for any legal financial exam, then definitely do follow this channel for all the amazing updates that you might have. Thank you so much.